all, let me thank you for being here, even with your hectic schedule.
My pleasure. I'm glad I came.
For the Janaavishkaara portal workshop. So, as we were speaking, we actually were inspired by the PARI model, but conditions being different in Kerala, we thought we'll have to rethink about the operational side of it. So that's why we wanted to have this workshop. Now we have provided us with enough clues in your speech there. That being the introduction, I just wanted to know, when did your, what you call, concern with, specifically with the rural India begin? Like you were in free press, you could have been a good professional that way, in quotes.
Well, I still am in the mainstream press, but my concern with rural, it's actually my concern with ordinary people, urban or rural, but 2/3 of your population lives in rural India. 2/3 of the population are rural Indians. And 66% and rural India, village India, in the major newspapers and channels gets 0.18% of space in newspapers and a little more in channels, television channels. Secondly, the average newspaper in India, the front page is 66% from New Delhi. Even no other city crosses 10%. That too from South Delhi and Lutyens Delhi. So rural India doesn't get covered at all. So that is my concern. I don't need to be concerned about coverage of Dalal Street, India's stock, the Mumbai Stock Exchange. Why? There are 1,000 journalists covering it. Who covers rural India? Who covers 833 million people? That's what we are. So our concern is the bulk of your population lives here. Second, the springs, the well springs and roots of your cultures and civilizations are from the rural side. Your traditions, your skills, all of that. It is the most spectacularly diversified skills in the world, and ridiculously we talk about giving people skills, and we take a guy who weaves ikat saris and teach him to be a plumber and think we have given him skills. Or the Kanjivaram sari weaver in Chennai, in Tamil Nadu, has quit and he has become an auto driver. So he's got the skill of driving. What is actually happening is a giant de-skilling. We're taking the world's most talented artisans and artists and finishing them off. So there's a particular concern about the predicament of the rural. That's how. And it's always interested me. I mean, as I said, it's been, if it's today 2/3 of your country, 2 decades ago it was 80% of your population. Any media person with a sense of, proportionate and sensible coverage would have to take rural India very seriously.
And you're speaking about people's expressions being brought back into the forefront, like storytelling. So, how does PARI go about it? Like you just explained it over on the podium, but I would like to.
Okay, one, we are dependent on who comes forward, who volunteers. So a lot of young people have come forward. We're working with the students in many colleges and universities. Many of our films were made by journalism students, including first semester students in Shantiniketan, Vishwa Bharati, Tagore's University. Several of our films were made by others, young students, 22, 23 years old. So that's one class of person. The second is professional journalists, very senior professional journalists, come and give us films and stuff they've shot because they know that their own newspaper won't carry it. They know that their own channel won't carry it, and sometimes there are those who, even if their channel would carry it, prefer to give it to us because they know it will go up untainted by advertising and sponsorship and be seen in full without us destroying the political content of it. So that's the second group, the very senior people. Third is all of us in the core group. Many of us have been professional journalists all our lives. We contribute a lot of material to collecting that. But we are also trying to see that break out of who does journalism and who constitutes journalistic opinion. You know, very often the great opinion in the Indian press is, say, 10 Mylapore Brahmins, 4 Bengali Brahmins, 2 Delhi Baniyas and 2 Delhi Brahmins, Punjabi Brahmins, and 2 Marathas and 2 Maharashtrian Brahmins. And this is opinion in the Indian press. We need to break that spectrum. It's extremely narrow and incestuous. It excludes more than 90% of the population. If you look at the leadership levels, particularly of the press, it is very largely in caste terms. If you look at it in terms of community, community representation, the so-called national press would be a Brahmin Baniya press at that level. I'm not saying that's all there is to it. There is more, but it is that. Second, more importantly, the corporatization of the media has made it extremely important that newer voices, wider spectrums should be unleashed. So we are trying to see we think that the best way of doing that is to take storytelling, journalism, literature back to communities. So we're carrying the Grind Mill project when the singers and musicians of 1024 villages have recorded songs which we are carrying. We are doing photo essays by Adivasi women living in the forests. This is a very important thing, but this part we have just begun. We are now 2.3 years old. You know, so almost, because December, 2 years and 3 months old. But you can see the amount of content that has gone up because there is a huge amount of interest. Young journalists, idealistic people, idealistic youngsters want to do something and know that the mainstream media won't touch it because it doesn't generate advertising.
Altruism is not altogether dead.
Yeah.
So now, coming to Ramachandra Guha's take on democracy, he says that India's democracy is still robust because every 5 years at least we have an election, which many of the nations do not have. What is your take on it?
Yeah, well, what we are celebrating right now is the right of Indians to elect their favorite millionaires. What was robust, I would agree to this point, we were a robust electoral democracy. I think a much greater definition comes from not Ramchandra Guha but from Ambedkar in 1949, November 29th, 1945. He made a speech where he said, today we enter into as I hand over the draft of the Constitution to the Assembly, we enter a world of paradoxes and contradictions. In politics there is democracy. In society and economics there is no democracy. In politics there is equality. In society and economy there is no equality. The tension between the lack of the one and the surfeit of the other will one day implode, will cause our fine political democracy to implode or explode, one of those words. Yeah, so that's what. So 70 years ago the man was able to see the problem. 70 years ago he was saying, the way we are going, you're going to really wreck it. I think every word has come true. I have covered, and I can also speak about elections because I have covered every general election since 1980. So I don't know how many must have covered, 7, 8 of these. I loved elections. I love elections and I used to love them a lot more. But elections are becoming a lot less about politics and a lot more about management. They're becoming a lot less about masses and a lot more about money. Yeah. The nature of the media is such that your outreach is better depending on how rich you are. And then look at who's getting elected. When we started the affidavit system, the wealth affidavit system in 2004, that is based on self-declared wealth. We are assuming that all the MPs are being honest and not modest. But 2004, 32% of MPs were crorpatis. 2009, 53% of them were crorpatis, and the most prominent amongst those were those who were re-elected. 2014, 82% of your Lok Sabha MPs are crorpatis. Now, how are these 82% of crorpatis going to represent the poorest people in the world? That is a question. If you think it's going to happen, God bless you. I mean, you're welcome to your view, but don't try selling it to me.
Dr. Vinayak Sen was talking about, we had a chat and some 3-4 years ago, he was saying about a perpetual condition of famine rolling over India.
Well, you know, actually I remember that a statement coming in a different way, and I think a way I would choose to use, from an Adivasi when I was covering the drought and hunger deaths in Rajasthan in 2001. I was covering those, and one of them, you know, when I was saying आदिवासियों को घर में अकाल हमेशा रहती है, in which he said, in the homes of Adivasis, there is always famine. I mean, it's somewhat different, but this is what I prefer. In the house of he said, in the homes of Adivasis, there is always drought. In the homes of Adivasis, there is always hunger. In the homes of Adivasis, there is always famine. I think that's a very beautiful way of putting it, because it reflects the sectional realities also. It's not that the whole country is like that. There are people who are eating better than they ever did 10-20 years ago, the richer people, and there are people who are eating worse than they have ever eaten in their lives. Those stark inequalities are what characterize India. Yeah, but I understand why he said it, and I think that the way this Adivasi man put it appeals to me a lot. In the homes of Adivasis, there is always drought. Akal hamesha rehti hai.
So, apart from bringing focus to such crucial issues which are facing us, what can we, as you said, the foot soldiers of freedom, which we have not won, as you rightly put it, we have won independence but not
freedom.
So, in this perpetual state of unfreedom, maybe, how do we come to act as foot soldiers of freedom? Is there a role for them?
I think we have to take control of the traditions. You see, today, people are attacking others as anti-nationals, and these people, the RSS, these guys, Hindu Mahasabha, they were stooges of British imperialism. Their great leaders and ideologues, when sent to jail, from next day wrote crying, begging letters to the Queen, as V.D. Savarkar did, Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. What did he do? There were others in the Andaman prisons. There were communists, there were Democrats, there were congressmen, there were others who spent the next 20 years, 30 years in Kalapani. Some of them are still alive in Bengal, 3-4 of them, the Kalapani survivors. They never went on their knees and begged mercy and promised in letters, as he did, that he would cause no difficulty for the British. Till that point, Savarkar was a revolutionary. He was anti-imperialist. Then, I think that the sheer cowardice and lack of moral fiber, once he got frightened of prison, he went out and then he started his communal career. Okay, the British didn't appear on the picture. It was Muslims. It was minorities. He forgot all about British imperialism, which means that he was sticking to his commitment and promise to the Queen, or the King at the time, that he would not interfere with British rule. So this is, I mean, here is or what was, can you name one person? Their first Prime Minister was a man who signed an apology letter for being involved in a 1942 Quit India procession in Gwalior. Yeah, he signed a written apology and gave it in at the police station. This is the caliber of your nationalists. These are not nationalists. Gandhi was a nationalist. Bhagat Singh was a nationalist. These were cowards, traitors, and their greatest contribution to the nation was to assassinate the father of the nation. That is who these people were, the Hindutva fanatics. Yeah. I come from a family of the freedom struggle. My grandfather spent 14 years in different jails. He sometimes, I think on at least one occasion, had a child who was born while he was in prison and died while he was still in prison, and he never got to see the child. Though the child lived to be 2.5 or 3.5. He never got to see the child. Okay? I'm proud of this. Like Captain Bhau is proud of his role in the independence struggle. I'm proud of it. But those who never spent one day fighting the British, just attacking and killing their fellow Indians in the name of religion and caste, who are these people to talk to us about patriotism? Yeah. So that I have nothing but contempt for it. Yeah. Their entire role in history. Now they are trying to appropriate Bhagat Singh. Yeah. They are holding celebrations of Bhagat Singh where you will never mention that Bhagat Singh publicly declared himself to be an atheist, and religious organizations are trying to appropriate Bhagat Singh. There are scoundrels trying to appropriate Swami Vivekananda, who would have had nothing but contempt for people who practiced superstition. You know, Vivekananda said this is the only nation in the world where you can debate, intellectuals can debate for 6 hours whether to take a glass of water with the left hand or the right hand. Vivekananda, who said, what is wrong with us that we worship stone, dogs, frogs, trees? Okay, I mean, it's a different matter whether you agree with him or not. But he would have had nothing but contempt for the kind of people trying to appropriate his name. So we have to reclaim our histories. We have to reclaim those traditions. And when I say tradition, I don't mean all tradition. You know, this thing of in every society there are the great traditions and the pathetic traditions. There are many traditions which must die. Okay, in the name of tradition, will we uphold and support female infanticide? It's been on for 200 years. Yeah, will we support and legitimize child marriage? If those are your traditions, get rid of them. Right? There are far greater traditions to observe. The traditions of the Tufan Sena, the Bhagat Singhs, those who fought for freedom. What about those traditions? Uphold those traditions. So we have to reclaim the great traditions which do not belong to these people. Do not allow such persons to appropriate history. Name me one person from that ideological stream. One person. Yeah, who ever went to prison defying the British on British rule in India. And these are your patriots. Heaven help us.
You rightly said about the use of the platform, digital platform, for educating people also on the role of fighting resistance to such conditions. So at the same time, we have in India a condition where all the public spaces in the like JNU and HCU and all are being continuously what do you call
shrinking.
So resistance is also growing, but don't you think that these people are making examples of the universities?
I think there are two. Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
I think they are making an example of the universities. They are making an example of the democratic spaces. They are fighting everyone who dissents and differs by criminalizing the dissent and making them into anti-nationals and terrorists. That's one side of it. With the result that I do not recall, even during the emergency when I was secretary of a students' union in the South in Loyola College, I do not recall this level. I do not recall this level of intellectual intimidation, this atmosphere of fear where people don't speak up, where the newspapers and channels connive with the government to create fake videos of what happened in JNU. 2 channels did that, remember? So all these terrible things that they've done have created an atmosphere of fear, tension. You know, people are legitimately afraid. Someone criticizes Modi or Shah and then they are attacked in the streets. Yeah, their family is attacked. This sort of thing, people are fear. However, that said, I think some incredibly positive things have happened. Yes, they are attacking the universities. Yes, they are shrinking the democratic spaces. But those very students are the ones who are fighting today for your rights and mine, for your freedom and mine. The Film and Television Institute of India, Pune, 105 days they resisted the imposition of that clown, who now has gone. Yeah, a clown, that's what he was. And a bad one. Not even a funny clown. So, JNU, Delhi University, the students of this country are fighting back. Second, I think one of the great things that happened in the last 2 years was the award Vapasi movement, where scores of people returned their national awards. I don't think people understand how important and significant this is. Remember this, if you look at those who returned their awards, their national awards, barring Nayanthara Saigal, not one who could be called an Indian journalist or writer was from the English language.
Starting from Ashok Vajpayee.
Yeah. So it was Hindi, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada. Now Shivdas, if you are a small fellow sitting in Malappuram with your national award, it is a huge sacrifice and wrench for you to return the greatest recognition you ever got. I admire you when you do that. You know, it was the most important moment in that person's life when she or he got that award. And they are throwing it back, saying, I will not accept this assault on freedom, nor will I be tainted by it. I'm saying the writers, poets, lyricists, playwrights and students of your country are fighting for this country's freedom.
You yourself have said that one should not receive any government award.
Yeah. That's why I didn't return anything, because I never accepted them. I was sounded out for the Padma Bhushan in 2009. I declined. But I would also say this, the reason for my declining was different. Had I been a singer or a dancer or an athlete, I might well have accepted. I would argue that the relationship of a journalist to government is different from that of a dancer, a painter, an athlete or a musician. Yeah. If Bismillah Khan accepted the highest award, I was delighted for him. If I were half as good as him, I would accept awards for music. But a journalist's role vis-a-vis government is different. I believe that the journalist is the external auditor to the company called Government of India. Auditors should not be seen taking rewards from those whose books they are scrutinizing. That was my purpose. If I was in retirement or something and I was hanging up my boots, but I'm covering that government, it's wrong.
When you talk about material poverty, in a state like Kerala, where there is no, according to the books, again, there is no absolute poverty as such. The concern is more about cultural poverty, maybe. That is why so much of collective activity, not only in terms of Kudumbashree and all, but also on the cultural front, are happening.
I don't know. I think Kerala is a very special place. I would not say there is cultural poverty. I would say there is incredible cultural wealth and affluence in Kerala. Whether we are bothering to look at it is the question. Are we bothering to recognize it? Are we bothering to look? Are we looking at, say, the Adivasi women in Edamalakudi practicing natural and organic farming in the mountains, in the Idukki hills, in the midst of wild elephant herds and pigs that destroy half the crop each year, and still they make a profit because they are so good at they're so good at farming that they do it. They lose routinely 30 to 50% of their crop. They do it. Now, you know, it is not an accident that the word culture also fits into the word agriculture. That is the origin of in many ways, of cultures. So here's Kerala with incredibly skilled farmers, but 99% of its land, cultivable land, under cash crop, overwhelming share of its land. One of the reasons why I think Kudumbashree is important. In any village, if you see crop farming, crop agriculture, not cash crop but food crop, that is happening with Kudumbashree. Wherever I go, I see patches of cultivated food crop. 7 times out of 10, that will be Kudumbashree. Kerala has become so distinctly a cash crop state over 150, 200 years. It affects everything. It affects your water. Water use for cash crop is much higher. Your rubber, water use is terrible. And the other thing is the death of unique vegetables. This state called Kerala, I would think 40 years ago, had 100 unique vegetables that you did not get in other parts of the country. I don't know how many of those vegetables exist. I'm sure somewhere some Malayali is growing them in his back kitchen, but as a regular crop, many of them have ceased to exist. So that is one. Second, look at the richness of indigenous medicinal cultures of Kerala. Ayurveda, gravely threatened by corporations and companies looting the forests of natural medicines. You know, this is happening on a very large scale. There are up to 1800 companies that have been wandering in the forests of Kerala looking at picking up stuff that your traditional Ayurveda, the Vaid, he's finding it hard to get those because corporations are paying marginalized people to go and collect those. So you have a very rich culture of indigenous medicine and indigenous medical systems. You have an incredibly rich culture in writing. So in these you have, but you have also lost a lot. I would say, for instance, it's a peculiar and contradictory state in one sense. Take women. You've got all the macros right. The figures are the best. I mean, development indicators for women in Kerala. The Dalit women of Kerala have much better educational literacy indicators than men anywhere in the north of India. That's one side. The macros are all right. And yet, you have one of the most male chauvinist societies in the world. Okay? Terrible. I mean, in Mumbai, I can see young girls, 2-3 of them, going for a night show in a film by themselves. I do not see that in Kerala. Okay? Either they go with a family, they don't, or they go for the 3 o'clock show. They will not go for the 9 o'clock show.
Good girls.
They will not go. Girls will not go for the 9 o'clock show with 2-3 of them alone without a male escort. I'm saying this puzzles me. It worries me. On the one hand, the indicators for women are terrific. On the other hand, the attitudes to women are atrocious. How many women do you have in your assembly? 7.
That's all.
140 member assembly. Do not tell me that there are no competent women. I will say rubbish, because your panchayats are functioning so much on the labor of Kudumbashree. And the women from Kudumbashree who contested elections in panchayats had a very high strike rate of success, because they are problem solvers in their village. Why don't you give them tickets? There should be 50 MLAs who are women sitting in that assembly, given Kerala's indicators for women. But there are 7. There should be 70 actually, but I'm saying at least 50 there should be, given Kerala's indicators. Now, there are 7. So something has been lost somewhere along the way. I also think that Kerala's, I would say something of a, in these sectors, a social regression. Like, for instance, the at the time of Sumakan, which I mentioned, the freedom fighters of that, they fought the British, they fought the Janmi, and they fought caste. They went there for a Dalit boy called Sumakan. Yeah? Somewhere that narrative has run aground. It has been wrecked. That, I think, is a very sorry side to the otherwise great achievements of Kerala. I think the attitudes to women, I think the attitudes, the failure to address or engage with caste issues, this, I think, are the a regressive side. Yeah, but rich in culture, rich in human resources, rich in talent, enormously rich state.
You talked about revolutionizing without romanticizing the digital space. This is the last question. So, and you offered some clues, some guidelines for that. As far as Janaavishkaara is concerned, how do you think that we can cooperate? You made clear, but still I would like to have it for record.
No, I'm saying that, see, the first thing is to stay away from corporations. Do not let them get a hold over you. We take, see, for instance, even in our funding, what we do is, we take individual donations. Sometimes small businesses, etc., might come to you and want to give you something because the owner of that business likes, but they will be giving it to you as individuals or as their CSR or whatever. But the day we start taking funds from the corporate houses, there your compromise on content begins. So I would say no direct funds from corporations and no direct funds from government. I will work with government. If Labour Ministry asks me to do something on agricultural labor or female Pari will do it. We won't, let them spend the money or whatever. We won't take that funds. We will tell them what it costs, let them spend it. And if they don't air it, we will. This is never going to happen. It's a theoretical thing. Well, I'm there and this government is there, that is never going to happen. But I'm saying that is our approach to it. In fact, I like the principle which Kudumbashree always says, women say, we work with government, not for government. So I'm saying that, say, if the government wants us to do a workshop for their information officers, I will do it gladly and I'll do it free. Yeah, to tell them how to document, collect material, etc. I won't take a government grant. Now, I'm using the word direct corporate funds, direct government grants. I have no problem if you work collaboratively with the various academies and organizations. That's okay with me. We haven't done it, but it seems to me okay for you to do.
Taxpayers' money.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm just saying that my question is only where I can see something that would affect our agenda, that would impose someone else's agenda. We had a discussion with a very nice group of people, very good institution, which wanted to give us a grant, and since it was a trust and the donors did not sit on the trust, we thought that was very acceptable. When it came to what was expected of us, I simply withdrew. Because the whole idea of independence and autonomy was gone. If people could tell us, you should have so many text articles and you should have so many, who are you to tell us? Right? Guard your independence. Guard your independence, and when you do that, you guard your integrity. Do not become too dependent on one funding source. Go to people. This is the state. This is the state where there was something called a people's film movement. Where I remember people went in groups to house, put out a towel, and people threw 1 rupee, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, and films were made, including I think one by John Abraham. He made a film on that kind of money. He made a film on that, on the people's film movement. So that I think is a critical thing of how I think we should be dependent on people.
We even had a labor movement, a labor collective,
Yeah.
People's Labor Collective, Uralangal. It's a society, cooperative society. They are now even constructing stadiums.
Yeah, you have in Thrissur, you have the Green Army.
Yeah,
Yeah, Vadakancheri, you have the Green Army. No, I'm saying, let me clarify further. I'm saying anyone can give us money as an individual. My classmates who are today who are maybe CEOs of corporations, I don't want their corporation to give me money, but I want my classmate to contribute, and I'm going to make him contribute. Right? It will be 1% of what I would have got if I'd taken his corporation's money. Yeah. So I'm not driving anyone away. I'm saying anyone who wants to give us, go and put it there. You're an individual, you're giving it, you're a small businessman or an agricultural laborer, fine, just do it. That is our attitude. Broad basing the support, and also we think every Indian has a right to participate in PARI, on so long as it occurs within the mandate of that organization, which is non-profit, non-commercial, which is everyday lives of everyday people, and which tries to give voice and space to ordinary people's voices. Yeah?
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.